Hi and good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's great to see so many of you have decided to join us today. But before we begin, I'd just like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, upon whose ancestral lands our city's campus now stands. And I pay respect to the elders, both past and present, acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge for this land. And before we begin our webinar, I've just some housekeeping points. This webinar will now be recorded. We will record your audio and our audio and video footage, the slide presentation we're currently sharing, and any of the written questions you provide us throughout the presentation. But we don't have access to your webcam or microphone, so we're not able to see or hear you. So there's no need to worry about that. However, if you do have any concerns about your privacy, please get in contact with us at UTS by emailing marketingprivacy@uts.edu.au. Okay. So firstly, I'll introduce you to our panel today. So my name is Vicky, a student ambassador at UTS Science, and I'm currently a PhD candidate in forensic science. I'm pleased to introduce you your host today, Dr. Sebastian Moret. Sebastian is the Program Director for the Bachelor of Forensic Science at UTS. And we also have Isabella on the panel, and Isabella is a student ambassador at UTS Science as well, and is currently studying the Bachelor of Forensic Science with a major in chemistry. And together we will be presenting you with an overview of forensic science at UTS and answer any questions you may have at the end of the session. We'll run through why you should consider forensic science, what career opportunities are out there, and discuss what it's like as a student studying at UTS. And then we'll open up the floor to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Vicky. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar session. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of what forensic science is and what we have to offer here at UTS. Before we start, we've got a very short amount of time, so lots of this information is available on the Open Day website. And if you've got any question, just don't hesitate to put them in the chat and we'll answer them at the end of the session. But remember, you also have the opportunity to have a one-on-one chat with academics teaching forensic science throughout the day. So what is forensic science? Lots of people think that they know what forensic science is because we've all seen that on TV or in the media. But forensic science is not just looking at crime scenes and dead body. We do that, of course, but it's not only. It's much broader than this. Forensic science is a historical science, a bit like archaeology, and we are trying to reconstruct the past, but we're not looking at fossils or relics to understand what happened thousands of years ago. We're looking at traces to recreate what happened hours, days, months, and sometimes years ago. So basically, the trace is our core business. That's our main focus. Now, what is a trace? It could be anything really. It could be very small, like a fragment of glass or finger mark, but it could also spread over kilometers. Think about a plane crash, for example. It could be a physical trace. It could also be a digital trace. Think about when you are web browsing, you're leaving lots of different traces that can be recovered. Now, what makes everything very exciting about forensic science, but also extremely difficult, is that first those traces needs to be recovered. And more importantly, those traces are only fragmented. They are imperfect and contaminated. So that makes our life difficult, but exciting as well. Now, to help us reconstruct the past, we rely on many different disciplines that they're all connected. We've got chemistry, of course, mathematics, physics, biology, IT, computing, law, social sciences. all that works together to try and interpret the meaning of a trace. Okay, and all of those disciplines will have a specific application in forensic science. If you take, for example, chemistry, chemistry will play a very large role in forensic technology and toxicology and drug analysis. Biology, it's more about understanding biological trace and DNA, of course. If you take IT and computing, and that's a new and very exciting era of forensic science that's moving into the digital forensic space. So at UTS, we offer a very broad and wide range of these different areas, and we try to expose our students and try to give them a holistic understanding of forensic science. On the left-hand side of the slide, it's more about where forensic science is applied. So we tend to think it's only applied to the criminal justice system. So that's true. Most of our graduates end up there, but there is a whole bunch of different areas you can work in and where forensic science is really applied. If you think, for example, security and defense, border protection, or the public health, public policy. For example, if you take a forensic toxicologist, if there is a new illicit drug that comes on the market and that's detected, we can then pass this information to public health professionals, and they will then communicate with hospitals and police. And the idea ultimately is to try and limit the impact of that drug may have on society. So as you can see, forensic science is really a whole bunch of different and overlapping skills and disciplines. So you can go on to the next slide. Okay, so how forensic science is used in our society. So once again, we may think it's only used for investigation, criminal investigation, and judicial system. So for example, when someone commits a crime, you will have some crime scene officers attending the scene, and they will collect traces, and then those traces will get analyzed and become evidence that is then presented at court. That's where forensic science has been over about a century. But what's now extremely interesting in forensic science is that it's evolving. And we've designed our course to really reflect that change. So we're moving towards a field called forensic intelligence. And that's where we're not just looking at one single case or single crime. We're trying to identify patterns and trends that could be detected across cases. And the idea is to disrupt or prevent the crime. As a classic example, if you imagine that there are a lot of break and enters happening in one specific area or in a very specific location, we can use the information and all the data collected from witnesses, crime scene officers, police, detective, all the different people involved, and take that data and turn it into useful and usable information, and pass that intelligence to police and tell them that we've noticed an increase in break and enters, for example, in this specific location between 8 and 9 p.m. So then the police can divert their resources and try and prevent those crimes as they happen. So it's a big role that is preventing crime to occur. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is a course overview about our Bachelor of Forensic Science. The selection rank is 85.35, and you enter the course through the university's admission center, the URAC, and if you will find much more information on our website, science.uts.edu.au/future. Now, the course duration for full-time students is 3 years. So if you stick to full-time student, if you stick full-time, you'll be ready to graduate in 3 years. But we've got lots of flexibility. So if you want to drop to 3 subjects per semester, you can even do part-time studies. So it's highly flexible. But I'd say the average students graduate within 3 years. Now we offer a mix of online and face-to-face subjects, but as you would understand for now, we are very hands-on and practical type of degree. So every single subject has some practical component, some more than others, but as a general rule, you will do a lot of practice. In the image there, you have students who is documenting a crime scene. So we've got some very interesting facilities. We've got a crime scene simulation lab where students can work on mock crime scenes. And we can set up different types of crime to teach the student how to approach a specific type of crime scene and then bring that knowledge into the real world. We also offer some real-world experiences, such as internship. So in your second or third year, you will have the possibility to do an internship. And we've got a specific collaboration with New South Wales Police Forces, where you can become an intern for a few months and work on a specific type of project. But if you don't want to do that, you can also work in our lab with some of our leading experts and researchers. Right, next slide is about the general overview of the core structure. So the course is broken down into 4 majors, okay? And the idea is to give you a very strong foundation of forensic science. Okay, so no matter what major you choose, you will get a very strong foundation. You will all do those specific subjects: principal forensic sciences, forensic imaging, forensic statistics, CSI, criminalistics. That's in the first and second year. And then you will move on to more specialized subjects. For example, in chemistry, you'll be doing organic chemistry, analytical chemistry. In biology, you will focus on DNA profiling, microbiology. For crime scene, you will do some very specific subjects like major scene investigation, homicide and human remain investigation as well. The digital major, it's our new major. You will be focusing on digital trace and identity, as well as cybercrime and networking threats. In final year, that's where you've got the option to do this internship, but you also all get back together to wrap it up and finish up with different like advanced forensic subject like complex forensic cases, forensic intelligence, and the forensic research project. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm not going to spend too much on this one, but we're not only teaching forensic science, we are doing lots of research, and teaching are really interconnected, and one benefit from the other. So your teachers and lecturers are also involved in iron research, and we always use that experience into our teaching. Okay, so now on the next slide, some information about what kind of careers you can access to with forensic science degree. So obviously, law enforcement is the big area for lots of our graduates. The good thing is if you start forensic science, but you don't want to stay in it, both the biology and the chemistry major will give you a very strong foundation in biology or chemistry. So you are able to access work in general laboratories. Now, we are giving you skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, and that's things you can always bring to a lab, but also outside the lab. You've got you can access intelligence agencies, border protection, and customs. Now, the era of digital forensic is opening up to give you much broader possibilities. You can access some private cybersecurities and digital forensic firms. Also work in the cybersecurity of very large companies. So you've got the 4 big banks, you've got Ernst & Young, for example. So those big companies are increasing their digital footprint and they want to protect their assets. So people with a good understanding of digital forensic, that's a key direction where those employers are moving towards. Next slide. Okay, so now that's something very new that UTS is also pleased to share with you. It's our early entry program. So this program allows you like the high-achieving school students to secure a place in your preferred UTS degree based on the year 11 academic achievement. So it's open for your 12 students who want to study in 2020. If you want to know more about this, you can visit the website that's on that slide. All right, so that's it for me for now. We are about to answer some questions you may have, but remember that you can always chat to us after the session. Okay, if you want to know more about forensic science, or if you want to know more about any kind of undergraduate subjects. You can also check our virtual tools, and all this is available on the Open Day website today. Okay, so that's enough for me. Now I'm just going to ask a few questions on one of our students, Isabella. So welcome, Isabella. What made you decide you wanted to pursue forensic science?
So at school, I was already interested in science, so I knew I wanted to definitely study this at university. Also, I enjoy watching a lot of crime dramas, and it was fascinating to see the many different applications of forensic science, especially using traces to build a picture of past events.
Thank you. And that's a tricky one, but what would you say has been the highlight of your degree so far?
A definite highlight has been that it's been absolutely amazing to be taught by current academics and PhD students who are able to tell us about what they're currently studying as well as what they've done in the past, which has given me a massive insight into the future of forensic science and how it's evolved over time as well, and possible future applications. Yeah. Great,
thank you. And what advice would you share to anyone watching who is interested in a career in forensic science?
A big part of choosing a degree is definitely deciding on a major, and the big benefit with the Bachelor of Forensic Science is that the majors are very flexible. So in first year, like Sebastian said earlier, everyone studies the same science, so you definitely get a foundation in not just biology, which is my major, but also a bit of chemistry and a bit of digital and crime investigation. So that's definitely a massive help in giving everyone time to decide exactly which pathway they want to take.
That's great. Thank you so much, Isabella. So Vicky, now it's to you.
Great. Thanks so much for that, Sebastian and Isabella. So we're in the last few minutes. If you have any questions, now's your chance, and we'll try to answer your questions live. However, if we don't manage to get around to answering your questions, you can join on the advising chat with us today. That's running until 3. And we've also got a second chat session on Tuesday between 4 and 7 p.m. So you can come back to ask more questions. So let's have a look at the questions from our attendees today. All right, so one of the first questions that's been quite popular is, I've heard that the job opportunities in forensic science are very limited. Should I still consider taking this course?
Yeah, that's a very common worry and fear that everyone has. Look, if you consider forensic science, I'd say go ahead. There are lots of limitations in every single degree. Job opportunities is that's a difficult market anyway. Now, you can consider law enforcement, and obviously it depends on the offer, but the vast majority of our undergraduate are finding jobs. Now, you may not be able to find your dream job straight away, and you may need to consider not only Sydney but Australia, but there are lots of employers. So once you've considered the border protection and all the law enforcement agencies, think about all the various labs that can hire you. The digital forensic space, that's a very new one and very dynamic. All our graduates are finding jobs there.
Thanks, Bastian. Okay, so another question is, how balanced are practical and theory lessons? Do we get much field work in the first year or two, or is it only something that we get later on in the course?
Okay, so every year, every semester, there is a very good level of practicals. Most of the subjects have lectures or workshops to give you the foundation, the theoretical concepts, but they also have the same counterpart of practicals. For example, I'm teaching a subject called forensic imaging. That's where you learn about photography. There are 2 hours of lectures per week, but there are 2 hours of practicals and 2 hours of computer labs. So it's basically 2/3 are hands-on and practice. And that's pretty much the case for every single subject, where more than like at least 1/2 is practical.
Thanks, Bastian. Next question is, are there any science subjects which are a prerequisite, such as investigating science?
There are no prerequisites, and even if you didn't do math, you can still enter. But I highly recommend having a good foundation of chemistry, if anything. Now, there are different pathways you can enter. There are different specific courses you can take at UTS to prepare for that.
Okay. And next question is, what is the comparative ATAR requirement of a single Bachelor of Forensics Science degree compared to a double Bachelor of Criminology and Forensic Science degree?
So I'm not sure I got the question.
I think maybe it's just to do with the difference in ATAR rank between the Bachelor of Forensics and the double degree with criminology.
So I don't have the ATAR rank on top of my mind. So that's something you can investigate with admission. I know you can chat to them as well. So I don't know like this. I don't want to mislead you.
Yeah, I think there is a new criminology bachelor, I believe. But if anyone has any questions about the Bachelor of Criminology and Bachelor of Forensic Science, you're more than welcome to pop into the International Studies and Social Sciences Advising Chat that's run all day by FAS. So that's anything to do with the criminology degree.
Yeah, and bear in mind, we do offer different kind of double degrees. The Bachelor of Forensic Science and Bachelor of Criminology, that's a brand new one. It's being offered for the first time in 2022. But there are also the Bachelor of Forensic Science and Bachelor of Law, Bachelor of International Studies, and the Bachelor of Creative Intelligence and Innovation.
So we've got about 5 minutes left to this webinar. So if you have any burning questions, you can try and pop them into the chat, and we'll try to get around to those ones. Let me see what's the okay. So the next question is, what is the acceptance rate for Bachelor of Forensic Science?
So you mean once you get an offer?
I think acceptance may be like how many people
graduate.
I guess get offered a place. Perhaps.
I don't really have this information. That's something pretty tricky to get, and we're not really involved in acceptance. So I can't really comment on that.
Okay. So the next question is, can you elaborate on the external partners?
Yes, sure. That's for the internship. So we have that exclusive collaboration with New South Wales Police. So what they do, so we're working with the research units, and they go around the various units at New South Wales Police, like the ballistic, the fingerprints, and they ask them what they need basically, and they work on different kind of projects, and then they make a list of those projects. And if you are interested, you can apply. So it's only through application. It's quite competitive, so you may or may not get accepted. But you need to write a letter and a CV so they can actually choose the proper students. And then if you get chosen, you go and work with New South Wales Police for a few months on a project. It could be full project or small research questions. It's really hands-on. If you are not accepted, if there's not enough spaces, we do offer internship in our labs as well.
Another popular question is, how much does the forensic science degree cost?
I've got no idea. Again, that's something you should inquire with admission, I guess.
And one of our attendees says, I'm currently doing standard maths and biology for my HSC. Well, do you think that would be enough, or should I take a bridging course?
It's usually enough. Now it depends on how you feel about it. It doesn't hurt to take. We offer some course during summer. That's just a two-week course, just to build up your skills. And I'd say the very important one is chemistry. So if you feel not too confident in chemistry, I would suggest you take that course.
And probably just got time for one last question, which is, how soon do we choose our major?
Well, that's a very good question. You choose it straight away, like when you apply, and you get accepted into one of the four majors. But we understand that it's maybe a bit difficult to pick between biology or chemistry or crime scene. So I'd say pick one, and then if throughout the first year you change your mind, you can change straight away. It's a very easy swap because first year, everything is in common. So the three majors, biology, chemistry, and crime scene, are doing the exact same subject. So if after following a few of the subject, you're like, yeah, no, chemistry is not for me, I like to do biology, you can do it straight away. That's definitely not a problem. Same thing if you change your mind and you want to do full chemistry, you want to drop forensic, again, that's possible. It may delay your graduation, but that's entirely flexible and possible. It's not. Don't fear that your first choice that you need to then pursue it throughout the 3 years. No, you can change your mind.
Well, thanks so much for that, Sebastian and Isabella. So I'm afraid that's all the time that we have. So thank you so much for attending and tuning in, and we really hope that you found today's session valuable. And we are really looking forward to meeting you on campus sometime soon. Sebastian, did you have anything else to add?
That's all for me. We're really looking forward to see you on campus.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.